Assistant Secretary Palish, thank you so much for being here. I'm concerned that we're losing sight of the fact that every dollar misused by the department represents a lost opportunity for a stable, high-paying job for one of my constituents. I support apprenticeship programs and multiple pathways to success. I'm listening, and a lot of the questions that I had, this is not my committee, I waved onto this committee because I had lots of questions. And many of my questions were already brought up by my colleagues, and it seems like there's this idea of either you support apprenticeship programs or you don't, and that's not really what's happening here. The thing I would like to say to you is that while assurances are great, you could have done a much better job to help us support what you're trying to do had we been provided with the documentation a lot sooner. The night before the hearing, and I've seen this, and I think that's what gives me concern, hearing after hearing, whether it's the Department of Labor, the Department of Agriculture, the Department of Education, we're getting the information right before the hearing, and we can't help you do your job better or support you, as a collective body on both sides to say, let us give you the support that you need. So just moving forward, we all support apprenticeship programs. I don't think that's the argument here. In my state, we have 4,312 registered apprenticeship programs, all bolstering more access to opportunities. At my high school, as a high school teacher, post-secondary education is not the pathway to success for everyone. So I get it. You said you want to enhance apprenticeship programs, but I don't understand if registered apprenticeship programs require wage progressions consistent with skills gained through those programs and IRAPs do not, then how is IRAPs a better program as far as apprenticeships?
Representative Hayes, thank you for your comments, and I first want to share my support for the apprenticeship model. As you mentioned, I think we all agree that the apprenticeship model is a model that we need to further. Again, unfortunately, I can't talk specifically about the IRAP rule and what is contained and what is not contained in that rule.
Okay, but can you say that, so can we agree that registered apprenticeship programs require a salary progression while IRAPs do not?
I cannot say that what an IRAP does or does not contain because there is no final rule yet.
Okay, can you say if IRAPs are required to have an equal opportunity plan, like registered apprenticeship programs?
Again, under advisement of my attorneys, I should not be speaking about specific elements within that rule.
So I'm assuming that you cannot say that there's comparable data that says that IRAPs have the same salary post-graduation as apprenticeship programs, that $70,000 a year that you talked about.
Again, I can't specifically speak to the IRAP program because it does not exist currently.
Okay. So how about the fact that I think a lot of what you've heard today and a lot of the concerns of my colleagues are that congressionally appropriated funds, which we had been assured over and over would not be used for something other than they were appropriated, have now been shifted to support programs like IRAPs. And I've heard you say over and over that there's two accounts. If, in fact, you've worked with the Solicitor General, the Office of the Solicitor, in order to implement these programs, and you knew you were coming to this hearing, why wouldn't you just bring that information with you? We could have gavelled out an hour ago.
Because again, if you're talking about the program administration funding.
Program administration funding.
Again, as I mentioned, it's the way that fund is tracked and the way that staff are assigned to that account and that their activities are not tracked within that account.
Right.
So there may be budget activities, there may be HR activities, there may be apprenticeship activities, there may be registered activities. There's no way to break out an individual's time to provide you that specific number that you're looking for under the PA account, how much was applied to the IRAP program.
But if it's as complicated as you say, then I'm just imagining from in my office, if I were going into a hearing or going into a meeting and I had to give this complicated metrics that you're describing, there's no way to describe it, I would make sure that I sat with my staff and broke it down to the lowest common denominator and made it as simple as possible so that when I sat on the other side of that dais in order to present this information, I would have given the committee more than 15 hours to go through it. I would have made the effort, if we're truly trying to enhance these programs and move them forward, to say, then what can we do to disaggregate it? I just find it very difficult to believe that the Department of Labor can't come up with a system by which we're pulling this apart. To simply say we can't do it just doesn't seem reasonable when we're talking about millions of dollars in appropriated funds and hundreds of thousands possibly of students on the other side of these programs that are looking for us to get it right.
Real quick, I want to make sure that there were no misappropriated funds. There were misapplied funds that have since been corrected. So all of the training and employment services funds were spent on the registered apprenticeship program. There are challenges with the program administration account, I will admit that, but unfortunately, I don't have the ability to disaggregate that data in the way you're looking for.
Well, I thank you. My time is up.
Thank you.
But we could have helped you with those challenges had we had the information.